You've been building this for, sorry, how long? You mentioned 6 years?
Since 2016, end of 2016, I think we launched it officially.
Okay, great. And you're all over the world now. I notice you're running events all over the world, which is great to see. What are some of the geographic differences that you've noticed? And the reason I ask that specifically is we're a UK PLC. We have small businesses from all around the world, and we're listed in Germany. Frankfurt is a great market to be listed on. It's very liquid. It's very well known. But the Germans have a very different approach to investing than it's kind of diametrically opposed to the US, for example. So I had a great conversation with Bernd he's the head fool in Germany. He was talking about how his parents are a little bit embarrassed that he works with stocks and shares. Do you see other kind of geographic differences as you meet your community around the world?
Yeah, I would agree. I think in the US, everybody's very focused on stocks and shares. In the UK, also not so much. I think everybody in the UK, for some reason, is very obsessed by owning property. It's ingrained in the culture.
Yeah.
And then maybe stocks and shares, but it's not as big of a topic as it is in the US. And then, yeah, of course, in Germany, it's a much larger also savings culture than it is perhaps elsewhere. And then I think what for us was always really interesting to see is, as you said, we have meetups happening, all over the world. So in like Nigeria, people are talking about all the new fintech propositions in Nigeria, right? Stuff like that you probably usually wouldn't really come across. I think we had a similar discussion in Hong Kong a couple of days ago, virtually this time. So it seems like every sort of local community has their own topics that they really want to dive into. Although I think specifically around our community, everybody definitely has an interest in investing because that's why they're a part of it. And it's just a question of how much and how sort of aggressively / how risky you want to get. I think that's where these cultural nuances come in. And then, of course, you have also sort of tax and legal implications. In the UK, you have an ISA. In America, you have 401ks and IRAs, all of that stuff. But yeah, I think that's sort of the general stuff. And then I think interesting trends that we are seeing more globally is we've seen a lot of interest in sustainability, sustainable investing. We've seen a lot of interest, probably the most interest even is women and investing. So we have this initiative or this campaign called the Female Financial Dialogue. Started off as a campaign or as a meetup in London, then it kind of grew throughout the world. And then this year we had, within 48 hours, I think 20 meetups that were happening all over the world, all organized by female members of the Finnomais community. And that seems to be something that just really caught fire, where people had a lot of interest in it, which is quite cool to see.
Yeah, very good. It's interesting. Some of the stuff that you've touched on, I think, is really reflected in the speakers that we've got in this summit. So, Francisco, we have Tina, both from talking about opportunities in Africa and the different countries and what the different specialties are in each of those countries. And I think you're absolutely right. We've got developing countries like that. You have opportunities to kind of leapfrog some of the more mature and ingrained tech economies. Yeah, so that's really exciting. And again, we've got a team that talks about it. Lucy also talks about it in the Middle East, women investors and how that's growing. And again, one of our themes is ESG. It's always interesting. I mean, ESG is a really interesting one from an entrepreneurial perspective. I've been talking about social entrepreneurship for more than a decade. But I really feel like in the last 12 months, that whole conversation about ESG has really started to get serious. And I'm finding you're hard pushed to have an investor conversation where it doesn't come up as something that's key. So good to see that you're seeing that as well.